Senior Bowl's almost here. What do you look for, particularly at the DB position? Eric's going to walk us through evaluations at this particular practice and ball game setup. Then Christian Watson, what does he bring? What does he have to show down there? And then a little bit of news, how it affects both Georgia and Alabama with the transfer of Burton. We're going to get into all that and more here on Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker, and as always, I'm joined by my guy, Ryan Tracy from Rogue Analytics at Ryan Tracy NFL on Twitter if you want to find him. And we want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Right now, man, we're getting straight into it, and we want to talk about, what are we looking for at the Senior Bowl, especially from, the wide receiver and cornerback positions. Those are two of my favorites, and really it's two of Twitter's favorites when it comes to one-on-ones, right? Like, everybody on Twitter waits for all those videos, those phones out, all the clips that come out from one-on-one showdowns between the wide receiver and cornerback. And I'll say this. One, kind of rule of thumb, the receiver probably should win like 70% of the time. It's like, come on, man, there's no pass rush. The quarterback gets a chance to kind of just sit back and pick the spot that he wants to throw to. But for me, and what I'm looking for is really just all the things that go into playing the cornerback position, not even so much the result of it. And obviously, it's great to see a pass breakup. It's great to see an interception or whatever happens. But I'm looking at, how does a guy move? How does he compete? I think that's the first and foremost thing. Like, how does he compete? Is he scrappy? How's his technique? I don't care about that. Okay, this guy catches this touchdown in one-on-ones. I don't care about that. Is the guy fluid? What does his feet look like? What does his change of direction look like? Because in one-on-ones, you can't hide those things. You either have it or you don't. And you can't hide behind the scheme, which we see some of these schools that just play this off cover 4 and guys just sit back and everything is safe. You can't hide behind the scheme now, right? It's wide in the open, and I get to see all the little things that I'm looking for. Now, one thing about, receivers too, because, I talked about the cornerbacks, but the receivers, one thing I'm looking for is, how do they win? I think everybody, they hear the receiver position, and everyone thinks that you have to win with separation. You have to win with routes. And it's like, no, some guys win in different ways. Some guys win with just speed, being able to get on top of someone. Some guys win with size, understanding how to, box guys out and utilize their frame and extend their arms. Are they catching the ball away from their body? So there's this question that's been going around on Twitter. And it's like, what's the first thing you look for when, you see a receiver? Like, what's the first trait you're looking for? And to me, it's just, how do they win, and do they win that way consistently? Then I'll figure out everything else as they go.
See, you're going to be way more technical than I am. For me, I just want to cross off some of the basics. Do you cross over his feet when he's in man, especially for those guys, like you said, they're used to playing in deep zones and don't have to necessarily do that. But for me, it comes down to the physicality part. The thing that I think you get challenged with here, especially for the vast majority of guys that come to play in this ballgame, is what do you do once you're in contact? For the receivers, are you able to slightly bend and try to stack that DB so that you're in position to receive that pass? For the opposite, are you able to counteract what they're doing, maybe redirect, not necessarily like jam a guy into the ground, because you got to let them play some. They're going to make sure that you keep moving. I just want to see who has the subtleties to play physical in contact at the next level without, getting flags thrown or honestly getting tossed aside, getting burnt. For me, it's also about when you have to turn and go, because I'm going to compare all your measurables. When I get you through the athletic matrix and I figure out what all of it means together and put all the algorithms together, I'm going to have my scores. I need to see it and see if that matches up with what I see on the field. And for a lot of guys, this will be the only opportunity that I get to see in person. So that's going to be key for me.
I think that's a big part with it. And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people that, lean a little bit more on the numbers and analytics, they let that determine how much they like or dislike a guy, as opposed to kind of marrying them together and kind of seeing how they match. Okay, I see this on film and these are his numbers, but does it match with how he plays? That's going to be like, Kobe Bryant that's out there from Cincinnati, guy that won the Thorpe Award. But I think his speed and how fast is he, how twitchy is he, how, he's changing direction. That's going to be something that a lot of people are going to be looking forward to seeing, especially for a guy who, a lot of the year they played some off coverage and didn't do a whole lot of pure man coverage. I think he has the ability. I think he has the skill set. He definitely has the playmaking ability, but what we see on the field, is that going to match with what you see with your numbers? That's something I'm excited to dive into. And we're going to dive into much more, especially some receivers, a smaller school receiver, North Dakota State, Christian Watson. What's intriguing about him? What have I seen from him? And what am I looking forward to seeing from him at the Senior Bowl? We're going to get to that and much more next. Hey, Locked On NFL Draft fans, this is your host, Eric Crocker, and I'm here with an incredible app that everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside, and our listeners are earning cash back for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app right now in your App Store or Google Play Store and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN, all right, for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first fill up. Cash back. Don't pay full price at a pump ever again. Don't do it anymore. Get cash back right now by getting Get Upside. All right, again, download the app for free and use promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents per gallon or more back on your first tank. Some people that drive a lot, man, they are making as much as $200 to $300 back per year in cash back. And get this, guys, there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out at any time using your bank, PayPal, e-gift card, Amazon, or any other brands that you use. Again, so just right now, download the free, again, it's free, Get Upside app and use promo code TOUCHDOWN to get 25 cents per gallon or more cash back on your first tank. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Also, I want to tell you about our friends at BetOnline. And, they want to wish you a happy betting new year as they continue to march through the playoffs. Right now, you got the conference championship games going on. The 49ers, are you going to take them plus 3.5 against the Rams, a team they beat twice this year? 65% of the time, teams that sweep a team during the regular season, they win in the postseason as well. So that might be a smart bet for you. All right. And the place for you to bet is definitely BetOnline. It remains the number one spot for all of the sports wagering action for 2022. New year and new updated desktop and mobile website. To sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit, just use the promo code Locked On to get started. All right. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of this amazing offer that's available throughout 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Ryan. So Christian Watson, receiver out of North Dakota State, big guy, 6'4", 200 plus pounds. And I don't know how much you watched of Trey Lance. Obviously, I watched a ton of Trey Lance. The 49ers drafted him number 3 overall. But every time
I saw a couple of games, and right,
every
he
time
had no choice. He was there.
He was there. All right. So just kind of your initial reactions, just kind of maybe some of the things you've seen from him on film and what maybe our listeners can be excited to maybe see when they turn on the TV, they turn on NFL Network and see this guy flying around the field at the Senior Bowl practices.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by that too, because I wasn't watching for him, obviously, and I only did a couple of games of Lance because he didn't end up on a roster that I have to really track. But what he stood out, he got put on my watch list as a guy that stood out physically. Obviously, he's dominating size, but I thought that he moved pretty fluidly for that size, and I thought that he was able to change his direction. It seemed inconsistent to me. That's one of my notes, that I need to see more. Like, I need to see him drop his center of gravity and come off and make that cut. That's what I'm looking for. Again, only seen about 3 games and wasn't watching for him. But I think when you get there and you're coming from that program and you have that kind of physical presence, they're going to have obviously a leverage aspect on you. Shorter DBs are going to be able to get in your chest. If you're going to play tight in the one-on-ones in particular, it's going to be about, can you drop your level? Can you get to that plant foot? That's what I'm looking for. But what's the harder part for a guy that size when you're coming up against guys that are, wiry, a little quicker, maybe out of their breaks?
I mean, that is the tough thing for those guys that are taller, longer. You can kind of see their movements coming. So a lot of people are enamored with the big receiver. Oh, I want the 6'3" guy that's 220. And for me, I'm like, yeah, please draft that guy, because those are the guys that I enjoy covering. Now, the tough thing with Christian Watson, when you watch him, is, okay, yeah, he's a big guy, but he's blazing. I mean, I've heard that he runs 4.3. If he does, that matches what I've seen on film, even if it's low 4.4s. I do believe he's that type of guy that could fly around. And, I asked you a little bit about what you've seen, just from the little bit that you've watched of Trey Lance. But, when I was watching Trey Lance, which I pretty much saw every single game that he played in college and really every throw, it was Christian Watson that continuously jumped out time and time again at all levels, whether it was slant routes, post route, go routes, contested catches, back of the end zone, have to get 1 foot down, being able to outrun guys. I mean, jet sweeps and getting around the corner and outrunning guys. And it was clear to me, I'm like, man, this guy, so, he doesn't look like he belongs at the FCS level, because the way he's defeating these guys that he's playing against is child's play. So that takes me into what I want to see from the Senior Bowl. The way that you were able to really explode on the scene at the FCS level, are you going to be able to do that in Mobile, Alabama? When you line up and there's a Kobe Bryant, across from you, or, Gregory Jr., the kid from OBU, Wichita Baptist, Division II school, when you're playing against some of these guys, do you stand out the same way that I saw you stand out at the FCS 1AA level? And, you talked about dropping his center of gravity, dropping his weight. Sometimes those are harder for guys that are that long-legged like he is. But, okay, maybe you don't win with being able to drop your weight. How do you win? And I think when it comes to him, that's what I'm going to be looking for on a consistent basis. I think the one thing, too, and again, this is my first time going to the Senior Bowl, and I want to see how does he look in the drills, right? Because on TV, they show one-on-ones, and that's exciting and all. But when he's going through drills, what does it look like? His feet, like you said, dropping his weight, dropping his center of gravity, getting in and out of his breaks, changing direction. Like, I want to see in drills how it looks, and then how that transfers over to one-on-ones. And the game, that's just kind of the icing on the cake. But it's everything that happens during the week that I really want to see most, especially from him, a guy who I believe can really help his draft stock a lot at the Senior Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing that I really want to see from him in particular, but any of the smaller school guys, especially when you're going up against, FBS, SEC schools, especially when you get some of that, is you're used to carrying yourself at that level as though like you're the 6'4" monster, right?
Right.
All of a sudden, your level of competition has jumped up. I want to see when you're not the guy that's in the rep, when you're in line, when you're there, are you present? Are you quiet? Are you able to make that leap? Are you able to have the confidence to go in and fight for that release? So the releases all week long, all practice long, are going to be important for him, in my opinion.
That's going to be exciting to see. We're going to get into all that and more next week at the Senior Bowl. But first, we want to talk to you a little bit about our sponsor. What's up, everybody? I know, man, new year, new me. And it's a new year, so you know what that means. New Year's resolution. And if yours is about getting fit, which most of us are, and eating healthier, we're trying, make sure you include a Built Bar into your plan. Our Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes more like a candy bar, and maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar, that makes it easy to stick to your New Year's resolution because it tastes so good, and you'll want to eat it, unlike those protein bars that can be chalky and waxy and taste like a chemical pill. You want to eat healthy, but we know it gets boring. And by like week 3, you might be thinking, man, this is just not worth it. Where is my chocolate? Well, I'll tell you where your chocolate is. Your chocolate is at Built Bar, and it's covered with 100% real chocolate. And most Built Bars, they contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. And Here's an idea for all of you. I know, just like me, we have our secret stashes, whether it's in our desk, whether it's in your pantry, your car, the glove box. Maybe it's in your purse if you're a female. Listen, all those candies and snacks that you have stashed in those spots, throw those all away and replace it with a Built Bar, which is an incredible snack that is much healthier for you. And even if you're not into working out, I'm trying to get back into working out, but it's hard. At least eat something that tastes good and is much healthier for you. Extremely delicious Built Bar, and you can almost count that as a workout. All right. There's so many flavors as well. Coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, and salted caramel. Those are my two favorite. You got mint brownie and many, many more. In fact, Built is always coming out with new limited flavors all the time. So check at the website built.com and check back often. All right, go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. So Ryan, man, there was some big news that came out a couple of days ago. And, we talk about the draft, and right now we are really focused on the 22 class, excuse me. But there is this receiver that transferred from Georgia to Alabama, and he goes by the name of Jermaine Burton. And this is a guy who exploded on the scene. I mean, I watched him in 2021 season, and, he went crazy. I was watching him live against, I believe it was Mississippi State, and he had 8 catches for almost 200 yards. And I'm like, who the heck is this kid? Who is this kid making all these special plays all around the field? Then he played against Alabama. He made some plays, 4 catches, 58 yards, and a touchdown. I'm like, Pickens, he's the guy that we hear the most about coming out of Georgia. But no, it's this guy, Jermaine Burton. Yeah. Jermaine Burton, and he was a true freshman that year. I'm like, man, he's only going to get better. Well, 2021 season comes, and it's just pretty even the whole time, to the point where somebody with his type of talent and ability, you want to see him take that next step. He really had about the same amount of catches as he did as a true freshman without having Pickens playing alongside him. And the yards, pretty much the same as well. So it's like, where's the impact? So I get it. You have a team that's, predicated on running the rock, leaning on the run game. They have terrific running backs at Georgia with White, who, we've been talking about. James Cook, can't wait to see him at the Senior Bowl. But the forgotten person in this offense was Jermaine Burton. So he said, you know what? Your guys' offense is predicated on this. I'm going to figure out a way to help improve my draft stock for the future. And he's transferring. He entered the transfer portal, and he's heading over to Alabama. And now he goes from playing with Stetson Bennett, who obviously they just won a national title. Awesome. But we know he's not that high-profile quarterback week in and week out that's really going to help a receiver stack his numbers. So he heads over to Alabama, and now he gets to play with Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young and put his talent on display there, where, we've seen a few guys transfer from Alabama, but the guys that did kind of go there, John Mechie had a terrific career there. He's headed to the NFL. But Jameson Williams, a guy who is at Ohio State, we've talked about him potentially being a first-round pick, even after tearing his ACL. I don't know what happened to Ohio State for him to have like 15 total catches in 2 years and then transfer to Alabama and have the season that he had. But that boosted his draft stock. And that's going to be a guy that we're talking about day one, potentially early day two. I think Jermaine Burton, a guy with big-time ability that hasn't really been able to showcase it, I think he's thinking ahead too. He's thinking for the draft 2023.
Absolutely. And he's got a couple of factors. It makes a lot of sense to me if I'm trying to advise him for what's best for his career, because there's things on both sides. With Stetson Bennett as the quarterback, we know that Daniels isn't going to be there any longer either. I believe he entered the portal. They're not going to change their offense. It's going to be run heavy. They're going to replace those running backs because they got them about 18 deep at Georgia. They're going to focus on the tight ends. I don't know that there's going to be a bigger target opportunity at Georgia for the wide receiver position. Pickens didn't even get that many targets, to tell you the truth. So when you look on the flip side, you have a perfect example in Jameson Williams walking in one season and being able to pick up the offense, which is the one thing that I would be concerned about, is how much mental aspect is there that you have to learn to jump into that offense. But they're losing Williams. They're losing Mechie. There is a lot high-powered offense with the most dominant coach in all of college football and the Heisman winner. There's just too many things stacked up at Alabama that makes it too enticing to go and think that you can go in there, and if you work hard, learn that offense, you should be successful.
Yeah. Now, there are a lot of people kind of giving them crap a little bit, and we know how fans can get about their colleges, and they almost get possessive with the players. And he's taken a lot of backlash so far. So what do you think about a guy who wins a national title and then kind of goes to the boogeyman, the team that you've been trying to, beat? You finally slay them, and you lose one of your more talented players to that university.
It is tough, and I have family that are Georgia fans, so I have heard all of this from the other perspective as well. And it comes down to this: are you helping your former university more? Or are you helping yourself more? What is your goal at that point? You've put time into that program. If he was somebody that, got buried or was hurt or was out of the picture, was not involved in the offense, maybe you could say that, hey, you weren't quite enough in it. You didn't put yourself into that process. But that's not the case. We've seen him be there. Maybe it's just run its course, and a change of scenery, much like we see in the professional leagues, is just what's best for everybody to continue to move forward in the direction that they want to go. That includes the Georgia football team. They want to focus on their younger guys, on their tight ends. They want to be able to evolve that way. If he's not part of it, why not? Thank you for your time in Athens. I'm going to move over and go to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, you talked about some of the other guys and the young tight ends, man. And Brock Bowers, that's definitely a guy who we'll be talking about soon. We're a couple years away from that, but we're only a couple days away from the Senior Bowl, and we will bring you all of the Senior Bowl coverage live and direct. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Eric_Crocker, at Ryan Tracy NFL. And from there, man, we will be posting videos, clips, everything you need to know about what's going on at the Senior Bowl. All right. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And for your second listen of the day, go ahead and listen to Locked On 49ers or listen to Locked On Chiefs with Ryan Tracy. But that's it for this episode. We appreciate everybody tuning in, listening in. We will check in with y'all live from Mobile, Alabama. Peace.